Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us again. So we're back on the next Series Europe conference, and for this new session we have three speakers. We will be talking about mobile operators going into TV and pay TV going mobile. We have 45 minutes ahead of us, so please don't hesitate to send comments and questions in the chat box. We will be discussing direct-to-consumer strategies for operators, both coming from mobile and fixed networks, their go-to-market strategies, their brand ecosystem, and especially when deploying TV services across various platforms and various screens. Also talking about content delivery optimization and content aggregation. So we have a really big program ahead of us. I would like to now introduce our speakers. So I'm happy to welcome George Held, who's the Chief Digital Officer of Beeline. Hi.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too. Henrik Harder, who's the CEO of UTV, a new streaming service in Denmark.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing great.
Hi. And Amit Zvik, who's the Director of Product Management, TV as a Service, and Cloud TV for ViAccess Orca.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Hi. So let's start this session with questions on standalone OTT offers go-to-market strategies. I would like to start with George. Beeline is operating both fixed and mobile networks in Russia, but also across different CIS markets. I would like to know what are your TV services and how are the different offers that you have coexisting on the ecosystem?
It's a very elegant and at the same time very complex question, because we as Beeline in Russia, we're running two types of television services. We're running IPTV and the proper OTT television. And for us, what's very important, we're migrating services from kind of traditional IPTV, which we're using kind of television going back to home, to the proper industrial, very innovative OTT platform, which we're also running across our footprint. And maybe what's very unique for the country and very unique for implementation and go to market, and also at the same time on the technology side, is the size of the country. Needless to say, Russia is the biggest country in the world from the probably the size of the geography. And this has lots of implications on actually technology implementation. And one of them, our biggest enemy on the technology side, I'm not talking about competition and go to market, purely on the technology, we are fighting against the speed of light. Because when you are operating across 11,000 kilometers, actually speed of light impacts the quality of transmission, the pinging time, and all of those very exciting elements which delivers very unique experience to our customers. So from this perspective, we installed a whole bunch of different platforms, which are repeating signal, which are delivering very elegant experience to the consumers, but also at the same time, it pushes us to implement services in such a format that we have to rebroadcast lots of our own shows or the shows of our partners. And as a kind of curiosity, the most watched TV show in Russia, if you can call it TV show, it's actually presidential address, when the president of the country is addressing the nation on the New Year's Eve. So my personal experience for a number of years, I've been watching this 11 times because we have to rebroadcast it across 11 time zones. And by the rebroadcast number 6, I was almost ready to recite it together with the president. But jokes aside, of course, it's a very unique, very exciting opportunity, and at the same time, very exciting way how the television services brought into the country. We offer, being a telco operator, and have a luxury of having access to lots of licenses on the broadcast side. To our consumers, we offer both video on demand, full portfolio of VOD services, but at the same time, linear TV channels. And we combine all of them together as a part of the proposition to consumers. We put on the top of it very elegant recommendation engine, which I'm going to be talking later on as our key selling proposition. And with this recommendation engine, our goal is to offer to our consumers the most targeted, most customizable content on any device they consume the services. And for us, I guess the word discrimination is a key important there, because we don't discriminate our customers. based on which type of device they consume the content. Would it be mobile, fixed, tablet, set-top box, smart TV, whatever they consume. For us, very important to deliver very consistent experience to the customer across 11 time zones, across all different types of account, and deliver them in the right time, in the right format, and obviously in very highly customizable format. And this is the strategy which we bring in Russia, and so far it's been very successful.
Thank you very much, George. It was a very complete overview of your services. Henrik, now I'm turning to you. So you're operating on a very different market if we compare Denmark to Russia. Can you tell us a little bit what you're doing and where you come from?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. And yes, indeed, Denmark is quite a different territory from Russia. We are one of the smallest countries in the world, at least in the geography size. And yes, UTV is a brand new streaming service launched in September last year. We are the sister company to UC, which is the incumbent telco in Denmark, and has a market share of plus 50% on TV. And what we try to do with UTV is to try to give us access to the infrastructure where we are not present with UC. So UC, of course, can sell a lot of TV on the infrastructure where they are present, but there are a lot of Denmark that are covered, especially in utility fiber, where we don't have a natural footprint, and UTV gives us an opportunity there. Another thing that we tried to do with UTV was try to cut away a lot of the costs associated with running a TV operator. So for example, support and service technicians, we've cut that away because we are strictly OTT provider and directly to consumers. So we have less need for support. You can't call UTV, we're a digital only service. So you have to email us or chat with us or contact us on social media. And we don't have any need for any technicians to drive around installing filters and whatnot. And we can cut away some costs, which enables us to give or sell UTV at a much more attractive price point than what you've traditionally seen in the Danish market. So we're sort of trying to give a value for money offering to New Day, which is the parent company that both UTV and UC is part of. And we're sort of being the no frills value for money proposition on the Danish TV market, utilizing an OTT and digital first approach.
Thank you very much. So now I'm turning to Amit. Vaixis Orca is a tech provider, and you've been working with OTT platforms. You have quite a long experience in the TV and video industry. What are your thoughts on what our speakers just talked about, standalone OTT offers? Where do you see the market evolving, and why are operators launching those new network agnostic TV services?
So I think, like George mentioned, it's basically a win-win situation. You know, viewers today, they want to be served everywhere they go, on any device they use, you know, day and night. We see people, you know, using public transportation, or even sitting outside of the door of the doctor, waiting for appointment. Everywhere people are in their mobile device and consuming content, or at home with a big screen and so on. So basically, people are expecting, you know, a sleek, a smooth service, and the operators, you know, they're not trying to protect their business. If it's a cable or satellite, or of course the mobile world, they're trying to protect their core business, prevent churn, prevent customers from leaving them and going to the competition. So OTT is definitely is one of way of the mobile operators to protect their current base, and also it's for many others operators. It's also a way to acquire new customers. Start with an OTT, which lets you spread wider than your current installed base, and start with a good OTT experience. By the way, I was such a customer myself. I started with an OTT of a provider, and after some time I moved with the landline and the internet at home, and later on with mobile. So I'm completely now served by single operator, and I started from OTT. So definitely it's a win-win situation, and I guess that's the secret for this is why we see so many OTT services today. If I may finish with some prediction, I think that in the near future, all of us are going to consume much more sport. We see a lot of movement around the sport arena. And for me, it's only meaning I will have to fight more with my wife on the big screen, but definitely OTT is growing and is going all over.
Thank you, Amit. Just to go a little bit back on what you said about the bundles possible with telco and OTT services, can we know a little bit from George and Henrik about the pricing strategy? Maybe George, if you want to start as a telco offering many different types of service.
Yes, obviously, it's a very good point. And what we're doing as a telco operator, we're obviously bundling as one of the elements of the go-to-market. We're bundling the service with a normal connectivity business. And as we offer both fixed and mobile, it really nicely goes together as a part of convergent proposition. But also, we're also selling standalone service, being OTT service provider. Actually, customers of other telco networks or anybody with internet access across the country can access the service. Moreover, what's also very important for us, we have very substantial traffic of migrant population. So people from other CIS countries or former CIS countries are moving back and forth to Russia. And for them, ability to offer localized content is a very much a differentiator. But I still would like to come back to the issue of pricing, because sure, the pricing is very important. And of course, the product needs to be properly priced and needs to be bundled with the other elements of the proposition. But to me, what's more important is why telcos are actually playing in this space. And you can see lots of telco players are starting to play, but in the real world, it's not only about being able to acquire or retain customers, but actually we see it's that being a telco, you can really offer special value to your consumers. You know a lot about the customer, and you're addressing the biggest challenge or biggest paradox all streaming OTT television services have. And the paradox is you can have hundreds of thousand pieces of content in your library, but in the same time, you have nothing to watch, which is a phenomenal paradox. Yeah? Or if you look at usage of YouTube, and you can see that 80% of time, at least I'm talking about Russia market here, people are searching for content, and only 20% of their time they're actually consuming it. So for me, what's more important, that it's not only pricing and bundling it, but by knowing lots of information about your customer, you can offer to the consumers right content in the right format. And being a telco, we know a lot about the customers. And if you compare recommendation or big data analytics, what, for example, proper contemporary telco has in their portfolio, it's much richer to what kind of Netflixes of this world have, because Netflix is only operates on the media consumption data. Being telco, you know much more about the customers. You know where they're moving, where they're traveling, whom they communicated, what their social environment, what's the actual, whom they actually communicated, not whom they pretend to communicate. And this is also very important differentiations. And jokingly, my big data scientist saying that they can predict when the lady gonna dump her boyfriend 3 days before she actually gonna do this. Because they have so much information about the customer, and changing the consumer behavior can be a really elegant foundation for the proper model. And ladies starting to listen to different music, you know this, yeah, eat in the different restaurants, sometimes spend time at home more with her family, talks more with her other girlfriends. So lots of kind of psychological things are changing, and this is good enough for proper data scientists to predict this momentum. And this is exactly where the power of telco comes to play, because at this point of time, we know what kind of movie, what kind of soap opera to offer. I'm not talking only about those 3 days. I'm talking about for all the consumers, and based on the analysis of their behavior to offer proper relevant content to them at the proper period of time. And this is the main value, and this is the main reason why telco is actually starting to play very seriously in this field. It's not only about, oh, we can bundle this with 200 minutes of voice traffic and 5 gigabytes. Anybody can do this. MVNO can do this, but telco operator knows so much about the customer that he can really address this phenomenal challenge of having hundreds of thousand pieces of content in your library, but nothing to watch.
Thank you very much, George. Henrik, I would like to go to you now, and maybe jumping on that, how did your experience as a telco, how did the experience of New Day help to build your offer, and also what is your pricing strategy in regard to that?
Well, so we're actually in a bit of a different spot than what George just described for Beeline. We're born out of Denmark's biggest telco, right? Huge market shares, as I just described. But UTV has actually been set into the market to disrupt ourselves. We've seen a massive migration out of our fixed TV packages over the past 4 years, driven especially by the entry of Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, big Viaplay even, has expanded massively in the Nordics. And we're trying to protect sort of our offering, our TV offering from a Danish perspective and from a New Day perspective. And of course, we're able to utilize the same media deals that we have done on our fixed TV packages and doing that OTT, but we're able to deliver it at a much more attractive price point, since what I described previously, we don't have the same expenses for obvious reasons, which just gives us a new competitive edge. So what we're doing with UTV is we're not bundling with anything. It's a complete standalone service. You can buy it whether you're on a UC network or New Day network or not. You can choose to buy it. You can be a Telia customer, a Telenor customer, and still buy UTV. So it's actually a quite different proposition. And why we believe this to be attractive is, of course, one, we are entering new markets, so we're able to reach customers that we could not reach before at an attractive price point. Also, especially in relation to our competitors, but also just trying to future-proof basically our TV distribution. So what we see, of course, is that DVB-C and IPTV distribution on fixed connections is not a feasible way to go about. So my predictions, Amit made a prediction just before. My prediction would be that in 5 years, in Denmark at least, would be close to being removed from any type of fixed TV distribution, simply because it's becoming way too inefficient, and we can deliver very, very close to a fixed connection quality already now on OTT, because we've simply gotten at least in Denmark, so many good internet connections, and a lot of fiber has been rolled out over the past few years. So it's improved tremendously. And what we're actually seeing, again, coming back to Abid's point about sports, we're seeing sports being a huge driver for us. We just had the Champions League final on Saturday. It was our biggest sales day ever. We racked in a lot of customers on that day specifically. Again, being able to offer it to anybody in Denmark at a super attractive price point. And again, you get access right away. You don't have to wait for a technician to come by for you to get access. And you can cancel at any time. So it's a very, very different pricing model, but it's also a very different product model from what we've traditionally done on TV. And I think that's what's so exciting about OTT and this way of actually distributing to customers.
Thank you very much, Henrik. I would like to go back to something that George mentioned earlier regarding the no discrimination between the customers. How do you also implement that on your brand ecosystem? So how do you create a harmonized ecosystem across all the different platforms where you are operating TV services, whether it's set-top boxes, connected TVs, mobile desktops, and so on? George? If you want to.
Yes, this is actually very complex. It looks very simple from the customer perspective, but also from the actual technology implementation, it's not a simple kind of task to take care of. As I mentioned from the beginning, we are running 2 platforms in parallel. So our challenge is not only different type of devices, but different platforms. So with OTT from the beginning, because we started it from fresh, and it was real greenfield, we hired the top-of-the-line design agency, which created really state-of-the-art interfaces, which we rolled out from the beginning across all different devices. So your experience, your brand experience is identical from the design, from the beginning, on all different smart TVs, set-top boxes, mobile device. All of this is absolutely identical, and it's consistent across of them. And this was done from the beginning. The challenge was actually working back and dealing with IPTV platform, which is an older platform, which doesn't have as much functionalities. But what we have done, we reverse engineered user interfaces. We reverse engineered what customer experience is on the different set-top boxes and the television platforms to make sure it's as close to the real OTT thing as possible. So in reality, consumer at home, in some cases, obviously watching OTT on their smart TV or set-top boxes, in case if this is a pure OTT client of ours. But in case if the guy is still using traditional IPTV platform, he is watching at home IPTV, but when he is watching it on mobile, he is actually a customer of OTT, and we're playing between those two platforms, making sure his delivery is very consistent. But it's a challenge. Technologically, we spend lots of times and efforts on this, and more interestingly, we spend more money on designing and developing interface, on testing the interface, that actually on the technical platforms which we're using, which obviously makes our technology partners very unhappy. But for us, at the end of the day, customer experience is the key and probably the most important thing for the product.
If I may echo this, so obviously we have many projects that the operator is trying to consolidate multiple systems, legacy system into one, and launch new OTT service. And I agree that whenever there is a lot of variety of devices, of end devices, the challenge with having a unified look and feel and unified user experience and address all the new systems and OTT, it's a lot of challenge for us, and we face it both on the back end and as George mentioned, on the front end with finding the best UX. Absolutely.
Now, Henrik, I also would like your take on this. How can you optimize the user experience across different devices and different screens? And especially, how can you match the new usages we see also with people switching from one screen to another, from mobile to desktop to connected TV and so on?
Yeah, we've actually chosen to build everything in-house. So we've actually, not gone with the sort of, I know a lot of operators choose to go with sort of an out-of-the-box solution where you sort of get a lot of the things right off the bat. And we've chosen not to do that simply because it has become a lot more specialized, and the things that we wanted to do, we simply couldn't find in a one-off solution or a standardized solution. So we've chosen to do everything ourselves, which also enables us to do different things. Like, for example, toning down the amount of features that we make available on different platforms. What we see is a clear migration from small screens to big screens. So traditionally, OTT, at least in my view, has been something that you consumed on your iPad or your tablet, at least on your iPhone. And what we see is now smart TVs and connected TVs in general, and Apple TVs and Android TVs, again, are taking over. It's becoming the norm to watch that content on big screens, whereas it was kind of reserved for the second screen to begin with. But now, again, since OTT has matured so much over the past few years and people are used to streaming services, we see that migration happening onto the big screens as well. So what we have chosen to do is actually we've chosen to not offer our entire feature set, but then becoming available on more platforms. So actually trying to sort of ensuring that we're available on as many platforms as possible, but then trying to adapt the feature set to the different use cases. That means, for example, that any self-service functionality that you might have, you won't have available on your smart TV. You would have to use your web client or your phone to actually do that, because it's not very handy to navigate those features with a remote. So that's some of the choices that we've made, but we definitely see a clear migration towards the big screens. Chromecast as well, also of course driving a lot of this. Chromecast is our biggest platform, followed by Apple TV and Android TV, which is really, really interesting because that was very different just a few years ago, but it's changed very, very fast.
Yeah, Amit, if you want to react to that also as a tech partner, how can you help operators which are having those kind of services with many different platforms available and switching screens and like helping the user's journey towards their whole ecosystem?
Yeah, so basically I think we can divide the challenges to two. One is the user experience, and the other is the personalization. So from user experience perspective, today the TV applications are not compared to other TV applications. They are compared to any application that people are using on the mobile phone. And there are many, amazing application, very fast response time. The user experience is great, and this is what people expect also from the TV, regardless if it's on the set-top box or on the mobile devices. So this is one challenge that we are helping our customers, our partners. And the other one is the personalization, the personal effect. So for us, what we call a personal continue watching is actually an awesome personalization experience when the user logins to any device, either mobile device or the big screen, and he can see a continue watching carousel with all these personalized, especially for the viewer. His movies, his series that he's currently watching, but not only VOD, but also live, like the catch-up, start over, any pause resume, recorded content, download to go. There's a variety of functionality today in these TV applications. And what we are trying to do is to bring a unified personal experience. So no matter on which device you are in, either at home or on the go, you can easily access your content, continue from where you're watching. And as George mentioned, try to minimize the time you spend on searching for content by bringing the content that you're looking for, that you need, directly to you. And of course, it's like the OTT experience that anything have its own like personal progress bar. Like if I'm watching a series and my wife watching the same series, but she's always like 2 episodes ahead of me. So I will see where I stop. I can continue, stop and resume easily without interfering with each other and the binge viewing and so on. So if I may finish, with the personal, again, personal view, I used to travel to work with public transportation before COVID-19, of course. And on the way home, I usually consume content, view series, and the ability to stop. And then at home, after the kids go to sleep, you can either view it on the big screen or use Chromecast to move it to any other big screens. It's amazing that you can just stop and continue regardless where you are and not lose a minute. And so I think that it's an awesome experience that we and the Accessor are helping our customer the operator to deliver to their customers.
Much, Amit. So you mentioned a few challenges on video delivery, customer experience optimization. Now I would like to jump back on something that Henrik said about choosing OTT and being able to deliver high quality content, which is something rather new that also comes with high-end connectivity. Can you tell us maybe a little bit more about this, Henrik, and how OTT services are now good enough to compete with fixed services?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the biggest knocks traditionally on OTT services is that they've not been able to compete with fixed connections in regards to the quality and latency and so forth. But I think, as I said earlier, I think we've seen technology mature, we've seen codecs mature, we've seen a huge upgrade of networks all across Europe, but especially in Denmark. With regards to high speed, I mean, I think the average internet connection in Denmark is somewhere around 200 megabits or something like that, which is insanely high compared to where it was a few years ago. There's been a massive value load going on across all the ISPs in Denmark. It's really a race to just upgrade internet connections as fast as possible. And what is really done, it's really enabled customers to get that really nice and high quality experience that you traditionally would get from a coax connection or a DVB-C connection or an IPTV connection. You can now get that OTT, and again we see 4K, we see Dolby Atmos, we see all these great technological advances. Actually, we're able to roll that out actually quite easily, and we're able to get that content also. Again, with UTV, we ingest a lot of the content ourselves. Basically, every content piece we ingest ourselves and make it available on our own platform. And now we're actually able to get that in really high quality as well. And we're going to roll out Dolby Atmos support right after the summer vacation, and working on 4K support as well for live TV as well as VOD. So there's really a lot of stuff happening, and I think the only issue we have right now is basically latency, right? Where we're still not quite on par, and especially for sports, that's an issue. You really hate getting that live score on your app before you're actually seeing the goal happen. So I think that's one of the things that we really need to work on. But again, the technology is moving super fast. We have CMAF and all these small segments formats that are coming up that enables us to really deliver a super good experience OTT. And I think there's really not a lot between the OTT experience and the fixed line TV experience anymore.
George, maybe you want to react on the latency topic, because I guess in Russia that's also a big issue.
But again, coming back and being a telco operator, the latency, we all do have a solution for the latency. And the best solution for latency is 5G networks. So as soon as we're going to have a proper 5G networks, we're not going to only address the issue of latency and have a proper TV experience, but even include multiplayer gaming and all the other really cool things which we can carry on the same television platforms, and which is absolutely unique. When you, again, were speaking specifically about Russia, again, coming back to the geographical size of the country, so we're putting lots of local kind of implementation platforms in the different regions, just to make sure that the signal doesn't have to go from Vladivostok to Moscow every time when you're watching or engaged with some TV show, and it's all kind of looped at the local level. And in this case, the latency is much more elegantly addressed and much properly implemented. And what's also very important for us, we address the latency issue not only on the IPTV platform, but also on OTT. So, and this is very elegant, as we have the same platforms which would have carried traffic previously back to the central location. I'm specifically not using fancy technology terms here. I do know all of them, but I specifically don't want to use them. But we carry all the signal within the local geographical area. And to do it on the OTT environment, it was not this simple. And I can see a question which just came my way. The question about why I'm keeping, or why we are keeping actually two of the platforms working in parallel. And the short answer is, of course, it's historical reasons. In the perfect world, I will switch off one of those platforms and run everything on OTT. And it never would be a question, would it be OTT or IPTV, who is going to be a winner? OTT is definitely a solution and definitely a way forward. And obviously it works much more elegantly on all different devices. And you can do such a magical thing on this. But purely for historical reasons, we have two platforms. I have almost 1 million customers on IPTV platform, and migrating them from IPTV to OTT purely technologically, it's a challenging case, and geography is one of the reasons. My previous life, I used to work in a country very similar size to Denmark. And when I had a problem with the technology thing, or I have to have installers, the guys used to get on the metro and being on site in the most remote site in the next 15, 20 minutes. In the present life, 11,000 kilometers, it's much more challenging, even if we have a local support. So migration of people from IPTV to OTT is not simple. We facilitate this migration. Our end goal is kind of switching off IPTV platform and going 100% OTT, but it's going to take time, and take time mainly from the customer perspective, customer adaptation, and customer be able to kind of migrate physically from one to another, because it requires some hardware manipulation, which is obviously very intrusive for consumers.
Thank you very much, George. I would like to go to Emmett now. We mentioned several challenges when it comes to delivering HQ video on OTT networks. Also, we've seen with George and Henrik working on very different markets that situations can be very different. Since you're working with different clients in various markets, how can you help operators roll out the best quality for the lowest cost and with existing limitations also in terms of connectivity?
Yeah, so Henrik mentioned the latency challenge, and when your neighbor shouting goal, goal, goal before you see the goal, a few seconds ahead of you. So this is something that we help our operators to handle today with a lot of configuration. You know, you need to understand the network and all the techy stuff that George mentioned, and in order to optimize the latency and the buffer size and everything. And there is a lot that can be done in order to optimize the content delivery. But you know, on the other hand, it's not also only bandwidth. There are a lot of stuff that can be done software-wise on the image quality in order to overcome latency and image quality. So, for example, with ABR, so you define what is the optimized resolution for a device, and then you let the player on the device analyze various KPIs like bandwidth and so on, and choose the best and optimized video or video resolution to display on the device. And also, you know, there is a lot of work that is being done by our partners on the image processing, you know, trying to get the best quality on low resolution. There are amazing stuff that's being done today with machine learning and AI. So I think there is a lot still to be done before going to 5G and expanding bandwidth, and we see much better quality today on low resolution, and you know, it's a constant struggle for us together with our customers, the operators, and with our video expert to, you know, to optimize the process. But a lot can be done.
Thank you. We just got another question for Henrik. Did UTV build your full stack in-house? What did you outsource? What would you outsource if you had to start again?
Yeah. So we actually built everything in-house. The only third-party component that we actually chose that we didn't build ourselves was our recommendation engine. So everything, including back-end, front-end apps, we built everything in-house. And what that enabled us to do was to give us a fully customizable solution. Again, we have a lot of unique use cases just in terms of how we present content and some of the things that we wanted to do that we weren't able to find in a standard solution. So we chose to do it ourselves, and we built it in. It took us 1.5 years, which is a long time. But again, we thought it was worth the effort to do it, and that means that we're in total control ourselves. Our entire backend is hosted in AWS and it's fully scalable, and that gives us some opportunities as well, and we can then update it, and we're not part of a roadmap, which I feel is really nice. And again, some of the things that we then of course rely on is our CDN and our origin, which again is something that we host ourselves, but of course it's something that we buy from third parties. But again, we really want to be in charge of the entire value chain ourselves. So where we could have gone out and bought a hosted CDN, we chose to actually get a third-party CDN, but host it ourselves, because that gives us some other opportunities. And again, coming back to the latency issue that we just discussed, that's one of the reasons why we have our own CDN, is because it enables us to control the user experience more eloquently and make sure that we deliver to our customers exactly what we say we're going to deliver. We could, of course, do that with a third-party CDN, but it would just be harder. So it's more cumbersome to do it that way, but it gives us higher quality, we feel.
Thank you very much, Henrik. And now I would like to jump to another topic that we briefly touched earlier, big data and AI. And I know that both our operators, which are speakers here, are content aggregators. So you have deals with multiple content providers. How can you enable users to find the content easily? How can they get like top-notch recommendation? I know that George has a lot to say on Beeline's tools, so please go ahead.
Yes, so our content strategy is built on what we call aggregator of aggregators approach. So though some content we purchase ourselves and we have direct contracts with all 6 major studios, but we also work with aggregators. So on our shelf, we're putting their products. It's a Beeline branded, but it's still presented through our platform. And obviously they deliver in the content. And this absolutely right presents a major challenge, how to showcase the right content to the right consumer. And this is where our recommendation engine comes to play and suggests based on the consumer behavior in the media consumption world and in the real world, what to recommend to them. And if piece of content is available on the different content providers, we choose either the highest quality, least expensive, more relevant, or the one which was previously consumed by the same customer. So to deliver to him consistent experience over the different platforms, because obviously to acquire all the content in the world, it's impossible to do. It's actually not always relevant to do, but it also allows you to start playing with absolutely new approaches and new delivery and timing of delivery content to the consumers.
Thank you very much. Amit, can you tell us how Vexus Orca is helping with personalization and collection management, and how can you offer the right content library to the right end users for your customers?
Yeah, so I think it was actually mentioned in one of the previous sessions today that most of the operators will have to become super aggregators. So, and as George mentioned, the secret is to collect as much data as you can. And today with the big data technologies, it's much easier to collect, process, analyze. Eventually what you need to do is normalize the data, have some kind of a unified database, unified catalog, and then you can use all the fancy machine learning processes and start recommending the best content for people. So we built a viewer profile, and we try to analyze the moment of viewing and try to predict if the customer is viewing on its own. If it's mobile device, usually people are on their own, but if they're using the Chromecast or if they're on the big screen, they might be in the family or friends. So you try to collect all of this data, whatever you can get, and even get external data, like if you identify potential followers that these people might be interested to following and so on. You bring everything into one huge lake, and you start to analyze and optimize your content. Obviously, content is very expensive today, and you cannot buy everything. And super aggregation and the ability to use machine learning and AI data in-house, data from outside, from other resources, is crucial. And this is what we do with to help our operators to fight the competition.
Thank you, Henrik. You're working on UTV. It's still a rather new project, but you're also doing a lot in terms of recommendation. Can you maybe tell us what's up with
Sure.
UTV?
So one of the things I think is unique about UTV and the way we do recommendation and show content in general is that we've actually taken the approach, as I said earlier, to ingest everything ourselves. So all metadata, all assets, we have that ingested, which also means all consumption happens on our platforms, even for premium streaming services such as HBO and Viaplay, which I feel is kind of unique. And the way that we've done it also enables our customers to see the content that they haven't selected yet. So let's say a customer has signed up for UTV but hasn't selected Viaplay as part of the package, but want to understand what is Viaplay. Am I actually interested in it? Do I want to purchase it? They're actually able to go and investigate that. They can browse all the metadata, see all the assets. They can, of course, not play anything until they've actually acquired it, but we're able to use that data to showcase it, to upsell on our product, which I feel is very unique. That's one of the things that made us build the platform ourselves, because it's something that's really, really hard to find in the market, that support for that kind of solution. But it's something that sets our solution apart, and it just enables a whole wide catalog for all our users to browse into. And what it also enables is unified search. So if you're looking for a specific title, you can search across, you can find that specific title, realize that it's one of the content catalogs that you haven't selected. Then you can easily upsell, and we can easily upgrade your subscription, which is good for us. It's good for our business, but it's also good for the customer because they didn't find that piece of content that they were looking for.
Thank you very much. It's almost time now, so I would ask you if we can wrap up very quick, maybe with one question that I would like your take on for each of you. Where do you see the market evolving on each of the country that we mentioned? So Russia, Denmark, there are a lot of different players. Which is also why you're operating on a content aggregation strategy. Do you think that we'll go more towards multiplication of those players, or rather towards consolidation? George, can you give us maybe a quick insight of Russia?
Yeah, we think that in Russia, the main development going to come to the new business models. And the new business model for us is AVOD, and delivery of content on AVOD model. We're already playing in this space. It's very exciting, and we think that this is how television going to develop in Russia. Lots of players, exciting market, and we're really up for this challenge.
Thank you very much. Amit, really quick, what do you see coming?
Yeah, targeted advertising, AVOD, free AVOD, whatever. Everybody are going there.
True, and Henrik, maybe a different take, since advertising is less exciting in Denmark.
I don't think AdWord is so relevant for the Danish market, at least not for us. I think consolidation is the key word. I think we're very interested to see what's going to happen. We just saw Amazon purchase MGM. We saw HBO and Discovery merge. So there's a lot of consolidation going on in the market. A lot of mergers in the Nordics as well. The competition is super, super fierce. We have a lot of premium streaming services coming in. There's a big fight for the entertainment buck. You know, customers can't keep purchasing new entertainment services all the time. So I think there's going to be a role for the super aggregator. It's just a matter of who wins that fight and who gets the best deals. I think they will be the one that wins.
Okay, well, good luck with that, all of you, and thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back in 10 minutes with a new panel with our sponsor Plume, how to leverage cloud and AI to deliver winning in-home video experiences. So yeah, see you in 10 minutes, and thank you very much, Amit, Henrik, and George for being here with us today.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.